Councilwoman Betty Guardado. Soy la concejal Betty Guardado. Welcome to Maryville. Maryville, our beautiful Maryville Community Center. As you guys can see, it's incredibly active. We have kids that are out swimming right now, that are doing karate lessons, that are doing basketball out in the courts. And we love seeing our community centers nice and healthy and filled with children and filled with families being able to get some good exercise. So I want to thank you all for coming out today. As you guys know, we do redistricting. The city of Phoenix does redistricting every 10 years after we do the census. And this year, this is going to be my first one and probably my only one. But very excited to be with all of you today to be able to go through this process. We want to make sure that we are able to hear everyone's thoughts on what you guys think, what the map should look like, what the map looks like today. We want to thank everyone that has made this possible. Special kudos to Ginger. Thank you so much for all of your hard work on this and having to work with 9 different minds on the 11th floor. That's not an easy job. So thank you for all of your work on that. And then also want to thank our consultants, Arcbridge Consulting. They are here from DC. So thank you guys so much for being out here with us today. And then our good friend who thinks that he's retiring, but he continues to come back, Chris Meyer. Thank you so much for coming back and this is what, your 20th one or your 4th one?
It's only every 4 years. I did 10 years, so.
So thank you for always coming back and giving us your mentorship and all of your knowledge. Denise, thank you so much. You're incredibly patient, and thank you for your patience and also dealing with all the 9 minds and everything else above it and helping us through this process. But more importantly, thanking our constituents and to all of you guys that vote us into office. Thank you guys for being here today and giving us your input and letting us know what is it that you guys would like to see, what is it that you guys want to see what you guys would like District 5 to look like, and not just District 5, but there's other more districts than just us, but most of you guys live in D5, so thank you guys all for being here with us. So with that, I will turn it over to Ginger.
Thank you, Councilman Guardado. That was a great introduction, and thank you for hosting this redistricting community meeting. The Councilwoman did a wonderful job of acknowledging the team who's been working on this, and so I don't do this alone. It takes a village. But as the Councilwoman said, welcome to this meeting. Thank you for coming. In addition, I do want to thank the staff from the City Clerk's office, from the Communications office, from the Council District, and also Phoenix TV. And then I also want to acknowledge that we are providing interpretation services this evening, and Mario Barajas is our interpreter for the evening. So Denise Archibald is to my left. She's our city clerk and who's the individual who's managing this process. And then to the councilwoman's right, we have our consultant, Priti Mather. Priti Mather. Long day today. And then to Prithi's right, we've got Chris Meyer. He's our former city attorney, former city clerk. And as the councilwoman said, he has been involved in all of the city's 4 redistricting processes. So a lot of history knowledge there. And then Sam Prither is to Chris's right as well with our consulting firm. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Denise to get us started.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon. As Ginger mentioned, my name is Denise Archibald. I'm the city clerk. I wanted to talk a little bit today about the process that we're going to go through with this redistricting process. So we are using the same process that we've used in the last 3 redistricting efforts after the census of 1990, 2000, and 2010. To ensure a professional and impartial process, the city hires a consultant that is an expert in redistricting. And so in this case, as the councilwoman and Ginger mentioned, we have hired Arcbridge Consulting and Training with Prithi and Sam Mather with the Washington, D.C. area, and they were selected through a procurement process and approved by the City Council. And so we will be having, this process will consist of 2 rounds of public meetings. And so this is the first round that we're in right now. And it's a key component because, as the councilwoman mentioned, we definitely want to get your input so that we understand, particularly if there are communities of interest that you would like to let us know about, and whether your preference is to keep communities of interest, either group them together, or if they're currently in two different districts, if that's okay. And basically just give us general input about your community. And after the first round of public meetings, we will make available a tool online. We currently have a website, Phoenix.gov, where you can currently make comments. And then starting on the 29th, basically later this week, we will make available a mapping tool where you will be able to create your own maps and submit them for consideration. When you submit them and or any comments, whether it's through our website, email, or phone, then the consultants will take all of that feedback and then they will come up with plans. And then we will come out to the community again in September, in early September, so that we can get your input on those plans. And then taking that input into consideration, the consultants will then make final plans, and those final plans will be submitted to the City Council so that they can pick our redrawn boundary map. And then that map with the new boundaries will be effective starting January of 2024, which is just in time for our November 2024 election for mayor and the odd-numbered council districts. So there's a lot of information here that you can pick up. We have it at the tables in the back and at the entrance as well. And that lists our website and our phone number and our email. So please take some with you. And then with that, I will turn it over to Prithvi Mathur.
Good evening, everyone. We are here from the Washington, D.C. area. The company is called Outbridge Consulting, and we have been doing redistricting for at least for the last 2-3 censuses. Before that, I used to work as a consultant at the Department of Justice, where I assisted attorneys in drawing their redistricting plans and evaluating the ones which were submitted by the jurisdictions across the country. My goal today here is to show you the data, and since the current districts were drawn based on the 2010 census, I'm going to show you some comparative analysis between 2010 and 2020, and then, once you see the data, then we'll show how, because we are in D5, so we'll show you what the data looks like for District 5 and how we can make some changes, and then we will actually show you some suggested changes and get your feedback. Okay. So here on the first slide, you're seeing 2010 data on the top, and you're seeing 2020 data here, and these are your current districts. Now, when in 2010, the population of the city was 1.4 million. And then the target was 180,704 people in each district. Now with 2020, our data has grown, our city has grown, and the city now is 1.6 million people. And with that, our target has grown too. So now, each district should have at least 201,017 people. So back when we drew the current districts, our maximum deviation was 4.74%, and maximum deviation is the difference between the most populated and the least populated district. And now the same districts with 2020 data, our maximum deviation is 14.45, which means that all the districts are not as equal in population as they should be. So with that, I wanted to show you that when we compare the 2020-2010 data, we find that the city has gained 162,500 people. And if we look at it in terms of growth, that has been 11.2% growth over the decade. Now we wanted to analyze this growth and we wanted to see how the districts grew. So you look at the map on the right hand side, the darker the color, that means the more growth. And if you look at the table here, you can see that each district grew, okay? Some grew more and some grew less, but regardless, each district grew. Now we are sitting in D5, so you can see that D5 grew by almost 27,000 people, okay? So then we looked at the data and compared it to our target population. So our target, as I told you before, we use it as target population. We also call it ideal population. So you're seeing a bunch of red and green numbers. And here what it's doing is we are looking at the total population of each district. We are comparing it with the ideal. We are showing you the deviation, and we are also showing you the deviations for each deviation percentage for each of them. So the green districts are the ones that need to grow, okay? And the red districts are the ones which have more population than is needed, so they would have to give up some areas. So let's focus on D5, and you can see that D5 has about 7,500 people more, and so the deviation here is sitting at 3.76. And we'll talk about what our requirements is and that how we can balance all the districts. So you can see right off the bat that D5 is here. D3 has less. D3 has 12,000 less. D4 has less, 10,000. And D1 also has about 2,000 people short. So you can see that just looking at this map, that D5 may have to give up some areas so that we can balance it all out. Now here we are showing you the target or the ideal population, which is 201,017. And you can see the districts which are below, they need to grow. The districts which are under, or rather the districts which are over, would have to give up some areas. Also on this slide, you're going to see these bars, and you can see the legend here, and this is telling you the demographic or the ethnic racial composition of each district. So now that we know that some districts have to gain, some have to lose, so how do we do it? So these are the redistricting requirements and guidelines, and some of them are federal requirements, city charter requirements, and some of them are guidelines that we are supposed to follow. So the first one is equal population. So what was the ideal population that I said? It was 201,017 people in each district. So that is the target, but obviously when we start to draw, we cannot put exactly the same number of people. So the law gives us maximum deviation, which should be under 5% overall. And for each district, our target is under 1% for individual districts. The next thing that the federal law requires is the voting right, compliance with the Voting Rights Act. And what that means is that we need to preserve the minority voting rights, and also we need to make sure that everyone is fairly represented. So other guidelines: recognition of public preferences regarding communities of interest. So we are here, the primary purpose for this meeting today here is that we are looking for your feedback. What do you think as a community that should be kept together? And sometimes, it would be that you may like it to be under one district, or sometimes the preference would be that if it's a big community of interest, that you may prefer to have it in two districts so that you have two council persons representing it. So once again, we are here to get your feedback, how you feel about the communities of interest. The next one is geographic contiguity and compactness. And what that means is that whenever we talk about redistricting, gerrymandering is a word that comes to mind. And basically, what happens is, we don't want to draw weird looking squiggly districts. We want them to be nice, contiguous, and compact, which means that they should look good and that they should be contiguous, not like we have one piece here and then another one. The preservation of the core of current districts. So another guideline is that when we draw these new districts, and you will get an opportunity to draw them, you want to keep the core of the current district the way it is. And then continuity of representation, which means that where the current incumbents live, we want to draw the districts such that they still live in their own district and that they can represent their own district. The last guideline that I'm going to talk about is political subdivisions. And here, what we are going to use is the precincts. And these precincts are the latest county precincts that we are going to use. So now these are when you draw your districts, when you get the opportunity to do that, you will have this PowerPoint up there on the website, and you can go back and refer to the redistricting requirements so that when you take the time and effort to draw a plan, hopefully it will be in compliance with all these requirements, and then we would look at them and see how we can incorporate them. So now, the other thing I talked about was the Voting Rights Act, making sure that minorities are fairly represented. So we looked at the 2010 data, and we looked at it for the districts as a whole. And what you're seeing is a map which is color-coded, right? So here, if you look at the legend here, the red districts are Hispanic majority districts. So you can see 4, 5, 7, 8, they are Hispanic majority districts. And you're looking at 1, 2, 3, and 6, they are non-Hispanic white majority districts. So after looking at that, we said, let's look at the census block level. And here we can see other races as well. Wherever you see the blues, they are non-Hispanic black. And where you see the greens, they are non-Hispanic Asian. So the purpose of looking at it was to see what it was back in 2010. And then on the next slide, we did the same analysis with 2020 data. And you can see in the districts, we find no change. We still have 4 non-Hispanic majority districts and non-Hispanic white majority districts and 4 Hispanic majority districts. And then again, we looked at the block level data, and you can see other races as well. So having looked at this data, when we draw the new districts, we want to make sure that everyone is fairly represented. So now we are in D5, and we want to look at D5 data. And D5, as I said before, gained about 27,000 people. And if you look at the 2010 and 2020 numbers, when it was drawn last time, the deviation was pretty good, 0.49%, and only 894 people more than the target. But now, what has happened is, with all the growth, you can see that D5 is about 7,567 people more than the target. And then here, down below, we are comparing 2010 total population, voting age population, and 2020 total population and voting age population. You can see that we have highlighted the Hispanic category because it's a majority Hispanic district. With this, I just want to show you how D5 looks like. And what you can see that D5, the black and white dotted line is your district boundary the way it is right now. What you're seeing in blue is the precincts that are within D5. And then I'll take you to the next slide where I want to show you the neighboring districts. Because we have the requirement of contiguity, compactness, so what would need to happen here, and of course this is your City of Phoenix boundary, so no districts here. So you can see that D1, I told you it was short, about 2,600 people short. Then we showed you D3, which needed about 10,000. D6 needs people, D4. The only district here, D7, is the one that can give. All the other neighboring districts are in need of people. So with this, what we did was we wanted to present to you some suggestions, some ideas that we have come up with, and we call it Plan A. And nothing is final. We are here for your feedback, and these are just suggested edits. So you can look at it and say, oh, this will not work, or maybe this can work. Regardless, you have to give up a little because you're 7,500 people more. Okay? So here I just wanted to show you the numbers that we are working on a Plan A, which is just suggestions, examples. And once we do that, so you can see, once we work with these, we have the ability to bring down the maximum deviation to as low as 1.38%. And we are starting with 14.45. And you can see that each district, as per our redistricting requirements, kind of is in compliance. So let's just show you D5. And once again, I want to emphasize that these are just suggestions. So we are here for your feedback. Okay. So these are some changes that we are recommending. So I'm going to start with the first one. And I'll briefly talk about this, and then I'm sure you would be interested in knowing how many people, what's the population. We'll go into details on the other slides. So just looking at it, there is this part that we are recommending that goes from D5 to D1. It's part of the Harmont precinct. Then we are talking about this area, which is on the border with D3, and we know that D3 needs about 12,000 people. So we thought we could take the Townley precinct and this precinct here, which is Sunny High, which is currently split. We thought we could give it to D3. Then we have part of Solano and Marlette. So you can see that this is Solano. Your current boundary anyways goes up and down in Solano area. So we thought we could make it a nice straight line, and we could also give Marlette. So those were the precincts here from D5 to D4. Then we want to come back and we have Orangewood precinct, which we thought we could give to D6. So we are trying to help District 1, District 3, District 6, District 4. So what will happen is that we have to give only 7,500 people. But when we do all these changes, then we may have to come back to D7 and pick up some areas here. So you can see that these are the changes that we are recommending. Now what I would like to do is go into each change in detail. So we'll show you that. And here we have just listed these changes, and we are showing you the stats that with this we would be 1,708 people more. We'll be within the 1% requirement. So let's look at those. So here this precinct, Harmon precinct, is a big precinct. So we felt that only a small part of it is going to help District 1. So if you're interested in what are the streets that define this, so we have those streets on the slide, and this area has about 3,800 people, and you can see that this precinct would have to be split between D5 and D1. But it helps D1 to come to the requirements that we have. So now we look at the next change. So here, this area, which is here, we are assigning this area to D4. So you can see how the line used to go like this and come down. So this area doesn't have too many people, 883 people. And it has the Spectrum Mall. So this is another change that we are recommending. Then the whole precinct of Marlette, which is right above the Solano area, it has 8,000 people. And we are recommending that it move from D5 to D4. So far we helped D4, right? So now we are going to look at how can we help D3. So D3 has 12,000 people short. So we looked at this precinct called Townley, and we said it has about 3,000 people. And we said, okay, if we move it to D3, it's definitely going to help D3. And once again, all the street definitions that define this area are given over here. Then this Sunny High precinct, part of it is currently in D3, and part of it, the one that you're seeing here, was a part of D5. So we said, why don't we move it to D3 and put the whole Sunny High precinct in D3. The next one in the same area, because we are working in that area, we look at the Orangewood precinct, and that has about 3,600 people. And we said, okay, what if we assign it to D6? So now we are helping D6 because D6 also needs people. And if you're keeping track of the numbers, we know that we are giving more than we needed to give. So we'll show you how we are going to balance it out. So now that we have done all that and we have given a lot more, we said, okay, why don't we take some from D7, which has a whole lot more. So you can see this precinct called Cora. So Cora is now assigned to D5. So then this precinct called Peña, this precinct was split between D7 and D5. So we said, why don't we put the whole of it in D5? And you can see that with that we will gain 7,000. And then the Desert Sky precinct. So you can see it has about 4,600 people. So with these changes, I just wanted to show you that this is how your current district looks like. And these are the areas of change to D1, to D3, to D6, to D4. And now that we gave so much, we needed to gain something back. So we came here and we got the Cora, Peña, and Desert Sky. So you can see how your current district is going to look like if you were to accept these changes. So look how we have tried to straighten out the boundaries a little bit and try to keep the precincts together. So once again, these are our suggested changes, and we are here for you to provide us your feedback. And now we are ready for questions or comments that you may have.
Thank you for that presentation. So I know we have some speakers here. We're gonna start with Jay Shaw. Is he still here? No? Did he leave? Okay. Or we'll go back to him right now. Miguel Perea, come on up.
Hello, my name is Miguel. I live in 43rd Bethany home, and my community work is more southern based. So I would like my representative to be more a part of my route that I take every day. So I just want my district to be more southern.
Thank you. Next, we have Yolanda Hernández. Pase, por favor.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Yolanda Hernández.
Good evening, my name is Yolanda Hernandez.
Yo vivo en la 35 Avenida y Camelback
I live at 35th Avenue in Camelback.
y estoy aquí para apoyar un mapa de redistribución
I'm here to support a redistribution map
de distrito que incluye áreas del sur y que limita actualmente para el distrito número 5
that includes the southern part that limits District 5,
y también de los parques y espacios públicos que usa mi comunidad
and also the parks and spaces, the public spaces that my community uses.
y que están en otro distrito y tiene sentido para aquellos ser parte del distrito 5.
And
And that there's certain
that makes sense for those that are part of District 5.
Sí. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much.
Gracias. Next, we have Victoria Stahl.
Hello, my name is Victoria Stahl. I live on 87th Avenue in Encanto. I live in the Peña precinct. I've lived in that same square mile my entire life, all 26 years. And my grandparents also live in the same precinct, 6 blocks away. Same thing, moved in 2 days before I was born. And the way the lines are currently drawn, we are split in half. They live in District 7, I live in District 5. And so the changes that you guys have proposed not only include my family to live in one community and to be represented together, it also includes a large portion of the district that I spent a lot of my life growing up and visiting. I grew up going to the Desert Sky Community Center. I grew up going to Desert Sky Mall. My elementary school is not in my district. So the way the lines are being proposed, I wholeheartedly approve of. It includes my community and it represents people in my family, and I very much appreciate that.
Thank you. Next, Andre Williams.
Good evening. My name is Andre Williams. I have concern with the continuity of representation definition. I did run against Betty in 2020. And based off the new proposed map, I would actually be mapped out of the districts. I'm currently running for District 5 in 2024. My application has been approved by the city clerk. So please take that into consideration. I did receive 18% of the votes in 2020. So if I were to be mapped out of the district, that's 9,000 voters that had representation with me would no longer have that representation.
Which precinct do you live in?
So the concern would be with D5 to D3, Sunny High.
Okay,
And that would be between 15th Avenue and 16th Avenue, north of Butler.
thank you.
All right, so Mr. Williams, thank you for that comment. We will definitely take that into consideration. When we talk about the definition right now, it is in regards to incumbent candidates. But if you didn't give us your precinct, I was going to ask for it after the meeting so that we can take that into consideration as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. With that, are there any other questions or comments? Someone that didn't get a chance? Oh, come on up.
Hi, thank you so much for taking the time to hear my question. So I had to step out for a
No
phone
worries.
call for a little bit. But I did just want to ask the panel and you as well, Councilwoman. So from what I get from this whole meeting is we're just like shifting the districts over to make them all equal in population. So my question is, why don't we like add council seats to make them like more representative? So instead of having like 200 and so thousand per council member, it's more like 100,000, 50,000. So is there, why don't we do that? Is my question.
I think that there is appetite on the council for that. I'll be the first one to tell you that yes, we do represent a lot of people in each district. So I think that is a conversation that we are open to having. Unfortunately, right now we have to go through this process right now. But I think that there is, I'll pass the mic over to Denise so she can explain more, but there is opportunity to start that dialogue to talk about having more seats on the council.
Thank you. Yes, as the councilwoman mentioned, and that's a very, thank you for that comment. We have heard that and definitely from the council members. So what we have now is we have ArcBridge Consulting on board. We are legally required to do this redistricting process first based specifically on the census of 2020. And then as soon as we're done with that, which basically is going to be in September of this year, then we will be ready for more conversations of that sort, and we will have the consultant available to go through that process as well. That does require a charter change. Currently, the charter says that we have to have 8 council districts and a mayor, and so that would be required to go to the voters, which then would trigger an election. So it's kind of a longer process, but we are definitely looking into having that conversation based off of the input of the council and also and the public. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions, comments? No? Going once? No, I'm just kidding. Come on up.
So how will the redistricting affect like the communities that will be leaving D5 to D1?
From D5 to I mean, I think that's a conversation that we need to, what we were trying to do was trying to keep certain communities together. I think that is one of the districts, one of the precincts, right, that we had to divide. I think that it's going to take constant communication between Councilwoman O'Brien and myself as we transition, right? Once the maps are approved, right, whatever map is approved, this is just, like a sample, I guess we can say. whatever is approved, right? I have a commitment to our constituents, whoever does not end up staying in D5, that we would help with a smooth transition and making sure that they don't get left out of any process.
And just to add to what the councilman is saying, again, we were just trying to balance the districts. This is a sample. So if you love your current councilwoman and you would like to stay, remain in D5, you can communicate that. So you can provide your comments, you can draw maps, but that is also an option as well. The only reason we did that, we were trying to help out District 1, but that is a change that we would love to hear your feedback on. And so, but both councilwomen are great women, and they, as the councilman said, if that change were to happen, then they would work together on the transition.
Other questions, comments? Someone that didn't? No? Going once? Going twice? No one? Great. Well, thank you guys so much for being with us today, taking time out of your busy days. I know it's hot out there, so we appreciate everyone coming in and giving us your feedback. Thank you.